Okay, so sorry about that. This is the Gemini full moon members ceremony. So I literally don't know what's going on with my tech. I was all set and everything was good. And this has happened the last two rituals. And I think it's just a matter of like we're upgrading and we're just upgrading. And sometimes it takes a minute to get comfortable in an upgrade. And it also takes a minute to just accept that we're at this like new level, this new set point. And that can be like uncomfortable because you can just like go back into your old patterns of like whatever they may be. I'm not going to list them out loud because they might be negative patterns. But right now we are in a season of abundance here at Golden Otter and a lot of upgrades and a lot of changes. And so thanks for bearing with us. I'm just going to do a quick behind the scenes of what this would look like if you wanted to come on live as a member. So let's go. So you should have gotten a link in your email and you paste it in to your browser, or you just click on it. And then this is what it's going to look like. There you go. So it'll take you to that, this spot, and it'll say, which camera do you want to connect with, and then put your name in. And if you don't want to come on camera, you can just choose not to, turn your camera off. I've got mine covered up right now, or you can, hi, you can come on camera, or you can cover it. Totally your call. And then obviously choose your built-in your microphone. If you're going to do this with your phone, it's the exact same kind of process. And then put your name and click join. And then you'll be placed in a little waiting room. You won't exactly see this, but on my end, I'm going to take you over there and show you what I see. Okay, it won't. Why won't it show me? It will show that somebody is trying to join the call. So right now it says Otter is trying to join the call. And I can answer it or not answer it. I can put you in the waiting room if I don't have enough, like it's first come, first serve basically. Okay, so that's how it's gonna look. And again, if you wanted to like at any point turn your camera on, you just go down to the options and turn it on. Okay, so that's how that's gonna look. Let's flip it around here. Okay, so there we go, put that off. Okay, so the Gemini full moon is about attracting our twin flames, soulmates, and bringing in our perfect pairs and perfect matches. So my spouse and I just celebrated our 13th anniversary, which is wild. We eloped on Thanksgiving Day in 2007 after meeting. We joke it was an arranged marriage. It's like kind of an out-of-date joke because when I tell the joke in Africa, people ask like what my dowry was. And because they do arranged marriages. I'm like, oh, no, he didn't get it. So now the joke is we had an arranged marriage, but not that kind because he didn't get a dowry. But my older brother, one of my older brothers, introduced us as future husband, future wife. And when I go back to that time, I think of that feeling that I just like, it was the first time in my life when I met somebody who my soul could just catch a breath with. And I'm like lost in thought about it. We've been together 13 years now. So we eloped on Thanksgiving Day. It was the only day we could do it because his chain of command, he's active duty military. So he could only go so far from the base that he was stationed at. And I was still in college. I was in my junior year. No, I was in my senior year, fall of my senior year. And I was actually done with school. I'd finished more or less in my junior year, but I was taking a senior year just so I could play rugby and was kind of like just hanging out, like waiting to see. I was going to take the bar. I was going to like do the LSATs, not take the bar. I was going to take the LSATs to go to law school or apply to law school because I had this like plan to be an international, like, UN, like lawyer for the UN. And so we met. And my brother had been, trying to arrange us for a while, or not arrange us, like hook us up, introduce us. And I got to see my husband graduate. I got to see him get all these awards and give all these awards. And I was like, man, who is this guy? Like, I mean, I'm sort of starting to see why my brother was trying to hook me up with him. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. Is this guy going to be like, what's his deal? What's his deal, And I kind of wrote him off, and then I met him that night at in a bar at State College, Pennsylvania, at Penn State, and we just hit it off. And he was the nicest guy. And I remember thinking to myself, you know what? maybe my brother's just like introducing me to somebody who's going to be a really good friend. And we ended up staying in touch. And he came up to Alaska to like see my hometown, and he'd already met my whole family. This is what was so weird. Like he'd met everybody in my family, except for me. And I was like, "Are you sure about this? Like you know everybody, and you're still interested in me because I'm the only girl." And just I've got a bunch of brothers, and like we're loud, and we're Alaskans, and we're just a lot, always a lot. We were extra before guac was. Have you guys seen those shirts? Like, I know guac is extra, so am I. I don't know. Okay. I thought that was a good joke. Um, so I'm playing to an audience of one, waiting for anybody to join the call. So the fact that he knew my whole family before he met me, I was like, whew, biggest obstacle, like biggest hurdle jumped. And so he came up to Alaska just to kind of like see what it was about. Because Alaska can be pretty intimidating. Like I kind of figured I would have to marry somebody from home because Alaskans are a very unique breed. You know, we're highly independent. We're individuals. We believe in a deep sense of community and privacy. We're very big on our privacy, but we also we're tribal in a sense. Like we don't like outsiders only because it takes a very strong constitution to live in a place where the environment is always against you. And so if you're going to come into that space and join us as an Alaskan, you have to be willing to do the work and like dig in, you know? I mean, quite literally dig in because snow can come up to your roofs sometimes. And they have this thing in Alaska called the permanent fund dividend, which is like oil money. But you don't get it just for like becoming an Alaskan. You have to, you've got to be there for like 2 years. You have to survive 2 winters. And I shouldn't say survive. You have to like live through 2 winters because most people get up there and like, I don't know about this. And so I took him up to Alaska, and which, by the way, like Alaskans are some of the kindest, most friendliest people you'll ever meet. We're like coconuts, like kind of raw and rough on the exterior, but then you crack it and you open it up, and you're like, oh my gosh, look at all this milk and deliciousness and like good fats. So I don't want to talk bad on my home state. It's just a different place to live. In Alaska, we call the rest of we call the rest of the continental United States or contiguous United States the lower 48. So it's like the lower 48 or Hawaii. And I guess Puerto Rico doesn't get its own little shout out, or Guam. Sorry, Puerto Rico and Guam. And so he came up and he checked it out and he seemed down. We went on this like a what do you call it, like a glacier cruise, and we saw literally every animal on the drive down and like on the cruise. And I was like, I've lived in Alaska for 18, I guess I was 21 at that time, but I've been away for college in Oregon. I was like, I grew up here and I haven't even seen some of these animals, let alone like boom, first day. And we saw them all, and I just remember so many things seeming almost like predestined during that time, like preordained, almost like I couldn't have planned it if I tried. I mean, you can't make a lynx show up on the side of the road. Like, goodness knows people would do that if they could. Can't make a humpback whale like show itself, or a glacier cave. Like those are all very divine timing type things. And to be there in each moment with him, getting to see us, and he really enjoyed it. And I was like, wow, he likes me and he likes my home state. And then the real test was I took him to the state fair in Palmer, Alaska, which is like big deal, big deal. I live like 3 miles up the road. Big traffic. You get cars backed up for a whole hour during the state fair. Busy times. People come down from the big city, down from Anchorage or Fairbanks. I don't know if anybody flies in from Juneau. I feel like maybe, but probably not. And so I took him to the state fair, and we walked around. We got all the food, the salmon quesadillas, the crab bisque, like all the corn on the cob, like just all the Alaskan things. I took him to the animals, and I just showed him my town. I showed him my heart, and I was like, okay, so this is me. This is where I'm from. I'm trying to go other places with my life. But this is what I come from, and this is probably where I'll return to eventually, if not to live. But like these are my people. This is my village. This is my community that raised me. And no, for anybody, I feel like some folks have asked, especially since the Sagittarius new moon is coming up, and that one has a ritual on Inuksuks, which is like an Inuit tradition. I am not Native Alaskan. I am native to Alaska. So my heritage is, broadly European, as my DNA tests have revealed. So we'll share that on another call. So yeah, he got to see Alaska and just kind of like how we roll, and he liked it. And we were leaving the state fair. And I remember the moment I knew that like I was going to spend my life with this guy was I looked at him and I said, "You know what I really like about you?" And he goes, "What?" It's a weird thing to say. Because what? And I go, "I feel like I can just be myself, like totally 100% myself." And he goes, "Well, yeah, I hope." Like that was a novel thing to him. Like he was such a grounded person. Um, and always just was like living in such an authentic way that it was novel to him to hear somebody say that. And he goes, "Oh, well, good. I'm glad that's how you feel with me." But it wasn't even a matter of, it was like on my soul. Like my soul was telling me, like, you're safe, you're okay. This person will always protect you, always keep you safe, not judge you. And I wasn't like woo woo at the time. In fact, I was like closed down. I was just like, I had my blinders on, like, how normal can I be? And he was very like East Coast, old school Catholic. Like, I thought, oh, yeah, yeah, this is like a good match for me to like be normal. Like, I can normal well with him for the rest of my life. He's military, so there was a structure built in that I wasn't even necessarily sure I wanted to be a part of, but I could see how that structure, that system would provide structure to our lives so that I could normal. They say it so that I could adult, so that I could normal. And that's what we did for like 13 years. I mean, we've been normaling for 13 years, but in that time, we have gone through so many seasons. But that essential, that core thing where it's just like it will always be there, was that moment when I said, I can just be myself with you. And he says that that moment with me was when he saw me at his commissioning, or my brother's commissioning, early that morning. So he saw me before I saw him, but the first time I saw him was like up on a stage and getting all these awards, which has become very like emblematic or symbolic of our entire relationship. He's always up there, and then I'm like with kids or like tending to people. And he said he saw me like playing with my nieces. Or no, I'm sorry, my cousins. Gosh, this is how long ago it was. We didn't have nieces and nephews then, and they were little girls at the time. They ended up being in our wedding, and they were like 2 and 3 maybe. And I was just kind of like tending to them. And he remembers seeing me and thinking like, "Oh wow, she seems like a sweet girl. That must be Augie's sister." So we both kind of had these moments in time that we can both go back to and remember. But that's not to say that, 13 years have passed with like blissful joy. In fact, every year has been a chapter of exploring each other and exploring our relationships to each other and our relationships with ourselves and like who we've become in this partnership. And I'm a little emotional right now because I literally just dropped him and my kiddos off at the, sorry, I got to get rid of the phone when I'm on members calls now. But hi, members who are calling on the phone. We're transitioning to here. I just dropped them off back at the airport to head back to Africa for a little bit as we start this transition into our next chapter because, in the military, everything kind of wraps itself up eventually. And I'll be sharing with you guys soon where we're headed next once we get like a little bit more official. We've got like soft official. It'll be stateside from what it's looking like. And I will share with you guys either one-to-one privately or just as soon as I know for sure, I'll like let you guys know. So I just dropped them off at the airport to go back to Africa to kind of like finish some stuff up while I stay here and get ready for our next chapter, and I take care of some delayed medical care. That is a journey that I would be really happy to share with you guys as it's a little bit like farther down the road, but I am actually in clinical treatment for PTSD. And holy cow, it's life changing. And I'm excited to share my journey, not just with Golden Otter members, but like with anybody who will listen, because I'm trying this kind of cutting edge technology called TMS. And it's literally changed my life, like literally. And I'll be really curious to watch these videos back to see how scattered and bananas I was, like heading into the October time. And then in October, when my friend passed and things just stopped being manageable, and I was like, I actually have to get care because you can do mind and body. And so you can do like spirit, but like if you're and body, but if you don't have your mind, it's a triangle. There's 3. So just drop them off. They're gonna go get cleaned up. But the thing that I wanted to, that just changed? This camera like changes. I'm not really sure why it does that. I wanted to talk about this resurrection bush. So this is called a Jericho bush, a Jericho rose bush. And it is so cool because what it does is it actually, it withers up and it can live with no water, like none. And it turns into this like dry little ball. And here, and it like shrivels all the way up, almost like a tumbleweed. It looks like a tumbleweed. So if you Google it, it'll be like everything is just like tight, tight, tight. This ball was like that big. And then you set it in water, and slowly over like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, the bush will start to absorb water and unfurl. So can you see these little parts here? Oh, where'd it go? Right there. Like it's unfurling. And then eventually they kind of suck up the water and become green. Now I don't know if it'll go all the way green or if it's just kind of like always kind of stays like a little bit brown. But like, oh, like here, these little guys. You can see where they turned green. And it's just a really cool, and then what you're supposed to do is the water that's in the dish that you kind of like, you know, let it sprout from, which this is too much. My daughters were, I let the girls like water this while they were here and they've just, overwatered it. You're just supposed to do a tiny bit because it can only take a little bit at a time. Okay, and I promise there's a reason why I'm telling you all this. Oh, my little bush. The girls wanted to call it, my husband wanted to call it Jerry, the rose bush, and I wanted to call it Rosie. So it's like Jerry Rose. It's the name of our Jericho rose bush. Give me 1 second while I clean this up. Okay, I'm back. And why am I sharing this about my Jericho rose bush? Besides the fact that I'm like insanely excited that I found it. I found it at this little metaphysical crystal shop in Annapolis, Maryland. Okay, boom, surprise. Spoiler alert. We might be moving to Maryland. We're probably coming back to the DC area, but instead of doing DC, we are going to try the Maryland side. And so we've been up life shopping. I don't know why they call it house hunting. Like it's like hunting, like neighborhood hunting, house hunting, all that. We've been neighborhood shopping and house shopping in Annapolis. And my husband found this cute little crystal shop to take me to on our anniversary, which actually he had forgotten it was our anniversary. I had forgotten it was our anniversary. We've just been so busy and we knew it was coming up and we were like, oh, our anniversary's on this day. And then the next thing we knew was like that day. So our anniversary is 11/22, so November 22nd. And we eloped on Thanksgiving Day because it was the only day that we could get married, just with his schedule with the military and with me being still in college. One of us had to fly in and I had to go get our marriage license, and it was just by myself, and I had to take this like ferry across the Orleans Parish. It was all very like, it felt like something out of a movie. I was just like, is this actually my life? Am I actually doing this? And I always thought like, well, what's the worst case scenario? Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? We'd just get a divorce, because my parents were divorced. And while that's not a really great mindset to go into with a marriage, I was more of the mindset like, well, what's the worst that can happen? You know, we're young. If you're going to make these mistakes, now's the time. And my husband was operating more on deep faith. Like, this is going to work. This is the woman for me. And like, we're going to make it work. And that is what he's always maintained. And I, on the other hand, have always kind of been like, well, if it's good, it's good. And if it's bad, maybe there should be other options. Meaning just like, maybe we should look at other ways to do this. And over time, our love, kind of like this bush, has like stayed nice and fertile and green, and then like kind of like come back together and then come back up. And right now, we're coming back into like a reopening season. So we, kind of like this bush, didn't realize after our youngest was born, I had really bad postpartum depression. And so if anybody ever wants to talk about that, you can message me privately, or we can talk about it on one of these calls. But I hadn't had it with my first, and my husband had deployed, and we had all these life events. My nephew became a quadriplegic, a lot of life events that would, I think, have probably qualified me for it. But I think I was just so busy moving through my days with my oldest that I didn't slow down long enough to like think about how I felt. And then with my second, it was the first time in my life as a mother and a wife that I was like, whoa, like my role is now really different. I can't just abscond at any point. And as much as I loved my family that I had built, I kind of started feeling trapped with my decisions. Like, okay, this is the decision that I made. I have to make it work. And when it wasn't always perfect, that was hard. Because I was like, ugh, this is like now kind of hard, and I don't know that I want to be doing this anymore. Which again, not a great way to, be. So Where am I going with this? After my youngest was born, we kind of went into a dry season and a long dry season, like 4 years. And it wasn't all at once. It was kind of like a gradual, like life changed. But we always had this core knowing that we wanted to be together and raise a family together. And so that always kept us together. And now we're embarking on this new chapter and we are kind of like opening back up. And this rose bush has been a really nice little representation of the way that love can go completely dry, but it also has the ability to open back up if we choose to water it, if we choose to nurture it. And especially with like twin flames and soulmates, those are those types of relationships that they'll just weather any storm. It really does not matter. So 2020 has been a year that has taught us a lot about ourselves. It's taught us a lot about the world. You might be seeing different people differently, even non-romantic individuals. This has been the year where we kind of decide who's in our circle and who's outside of our circle, and that's totally okay. That's what this whole thing is about. But any relationships that you feel like maybe are weathering a tough storm right now, just due to the world events, if they're meant to be in your life, they will stay. And eventually, when the time is right to kind of come back and nurture them, you can add just a little bit of water and kind of see, or a little bit of love and see how they unfold. So, I don't know. I guess that's the message I wanted to leave, is that there's always hope, right? There's always something green around the corner, and brighter days are ahead. So, good luck in attracting your soulmate, finding your soulmate, attracting a twin flame, or even just a platonic relationship. Those can be so fun. You know, when you just meet your soul sisters or your brother from another mother, people who you know are meant to be in your life, not just for a little bit, but for a long time. A few notes: do be aware of energy vampires, please. I'm not going to discuss it right now just because I don't have a member on the call to kind of like go back and forth with. But eventually, I'd love to share. Well, maybe not love. I'd like to. Not even delete. I need to. I need to share a story that kind of goes back to that time when things started to go dry for us. My second, almost weird. After my second daughter was born, there was I got bitten by an energy vampire. It's the only way to say it. And it was like a dark, hard, painful time. And my spouse sees it one way, and I see it differently. And no physical infidelity, nothing like that. It was just simply somebody who showed interest in me that I was blind to because I was so postpartum and like didn't think much of myself, let alone think that anybody else could think much of me, and just didn't see kind of like an energy vampire coming in the ways that I would obviously now, or maybe had in the past. And so just be aware of that as you're trying to like call in a perfect match. Whatever comes to you, you'll have this deep sense of knowing and this sense of timelessness that pervades the entire interaction. It won't feel like a flash in the pan, and it won't feel like a false sense of urgency, like we've got to do it now or else. It's like none of that. Like my husband and I eloped just because it was like a technical thing. We weren't with moving with the military and me being on his orders and having the same last name and all that. We could have also waited 13 years. I think if we hadn't gotten married, we probably eventually would have. Like if we hadn't done it then, we eventually would have, or we would have parted ways and then always kind of found our way back to each other. You know, so be aware of possible energy vampires, and again, just use all usual methods of scoping a person and a place out before you meet in real life. Do your due diligence. Don't take people at face value. I personally strongly suggest getting a co-author or getting what do they call that on a sign? Co-signer. Get a co-signer on your relationship, just like you'd get one on a loan, because when we start building these relationships, especially now in the digital age where anybody can be whoever they want in an instant, it's really nice to know that there are going to be other people who vouch for individuals. And I know with the virtual situation that we're all living in, it can be like, well, I kind of saw this, that. No, anybody can be anybody that they want on the internet. I could be a totally made up person. By now, I hope you've realized that I'm so deeply flawed and wild that this would be quite a character to concoct. But people do that. And so do your due diligence and invite it in and be open, but also seek a cosigner, somebody who can vouch for them, a friend, a former coworker or a current coworker. I always think like setups are the best because usually somebody's like, oh, I know somebody who might gel with you. And even if it's not a perfect match, it at least gets you close. And yeah, if you need any more tips on that, give me a holler, as they say, or just send me a message, and we can chat. But like most importantly, you need to feel safe and grounded in this because our ability to attract love it's like a magnet, and if we are closed off and we're scared and we're like we're going to be repelling. And so you want to be grounded and feel safe and calm and secure, and then that is when you can attract. And that's the weekend that I met my spouse. I was like in such a no guy zone. I had sworn off men. I was like, I'll never get married. I'm ready to do this thing solo. I was like 21, so what did I know? But at the time I was very much like just over it. I was over it. So I wasn't looking. And then boom, my like perfect soulmate, my perfect match, like literally manifested in front of me. And he was like, background checked, verified because he'd met my brothers and met my whole family. So wonder who's waiting in your wings. Okay, and if you're already coupled, enjoy that time with your special someone, and send a message in the members forum to let other, light workers and lunar manifestation members know that their special match is right around the corner. And if you're happily single and that's how you want to be, keep doing you. All right, lots of love.